How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to try and finish up our Project Hypertenere R6 build phase 1, which is really just the something that'll get it so it could reasonably go off-road in relatively accessible places. This is not a single track build yet, but this is like, hey, what are the minimum things you need to do to your sport bike to get it off-road? So on the last episode, we worked on the back of the bike. You can kind of, that's weird, the Ducati wheel right over here looks like it's sitting in the... So we worked on the back of the bike here, and we pulled the wheels, and we pulled the regular fender and stuff, and got rid of that. We put our new, much smaller fender eliminator kit in, and we prepped our tail lights for the new turn signals, which are like plug-in, plug-out turn signals. They're really cool. But I don't have the ballasts, resistors, whatever they're called for LEDs, so I can't finish that up yet. And we ran out of time last night. So today, we're working on the front of the bike and a little bit on the back, and I'll show you that when we get to it. First things first, we want to get this also prepped for turn signals, which means we got to go pull these fairings off, get this turn signal off and disconnected. So after that, we're gonna pop some pieces off the bike. So this front fender up here is gonna go, and this rear splash guard here is probably gonna go. We'll see. I may wait to see if the tire fits in there before I pull that one. But pull some stuff to get us a little bit more clearance, and then we'll start adjusting things on the bike. So one of the cool things about this bike is it's got highly adjustable suspension. So we're gonna go adjust that and see what we can get. So let's get to it. Okay, so we got some of the stuff off. So we took off the front fairings here. Well, they're not all the way off, they're just mostly off. This is where we were sitting and working. You see the front fairings off, and you can kind of see the support in here. We're looking at this a little bit with the future in mind. So we're looking for places to mount things like roll cages and crash protection. And so a couple things jump up immediately. This looks like a pretty solid mount into the main structure of the bike. So this is one of your main mounts here. This also down here looks like a pretty solid mount. So that could be an option. And then these couple things over here also look to be pretty solid mounts, although this is the axle or the pivot joint right here, so I'll probably want to leave the stress off that as much as possible. So something like right here looks to be pretty solid for mounting some crash protection, and there's some other tabs and stuff like that down there, but these are kind of some of the crash protection mounting locations we're going to look at in the future. Right now, though, we're working on turn signals. So I'm a little annoyed with myself for a couple reasons. One, I didn't need to be nearly as Dremel-y yesterday with this stuff because of these. So I forgot to check for connectors that are removable on these turn signals and everything on the taillight. So when I was popping these open, I was like, oh, hey, there are these types of just connectors here, which will make our life easy, actually. Our LED turn signals and everything else comes with the connectors to just slide right into that, so we don't have to cut like we did on the back there. So see that sad lonely wire hanging out? We don't need to do that. That was our mistake. I've been checking a little bit here off camera, and it looks like these wires are the same front to back. So in the front we have let's see if we can get to focus in. In the front we have a 3-wire setup. So your black is your ground, and then you have 2 wires that provide power. It's a lot like our Project Ute setup, where one is a running light and one is a turn signal. What we have set up here is essentially the same thing as the back, and I confirmed this on the left-hand side, in that the black is your ground. Actually, this used to be a green, so that matches. This green wire is your turn signal, and this blue wire with the white stripe is your running light. So the blue wire provides constant power, and this provides switched power. So the idea here is that we're gonna disconnect these. We can pull these things out, and then we'll figure out some way to mount them here on either the fairing or someplace in here. There's a tab kind of right behind. There's a tab right here, and that might work pretty well for mounting our turn signals once these are out. So we're gonna go figure out how we're gonna mount that stuff here and pull these out, and then put everything in real quick, especially since everything is much more socketed. I don't have to like solder. I'm probably going to put in all of our turn signals and just wait for our ballast setup to come in, and then we'll just hide that maybe up in here somewhere. So yeah, we'll go try that then. All right, I think we've hit the point where we can't do anything more without our LED resistors, and I'll show you why. So I've just mocked something up here real quick, just for the sake of demonstration, since I have one light already kind of mounted there. You can kind of see it's already sort of mounted in the fairing. But I have my other light just hanging because I haven't mounted it on the other side yet. So I've got a light hanging here. This is the new LEDs. And then a new LED on the back here. This one's basically fully mounted in. On the other side, what we currently have mounted is a regular, our new LED light in the back and a regular light up front. And the one in the front up here is only plugged in essentially like our LED lights will be. So it's only 2 of the 3 wires. It's got the ground and then the regular turn signal indicator, not the running lights that you were seeing up in the front, I believe. So when we do this, there's we can check it here and turn it on. All right, so I'm gonna go put on the left turn signals here, and we'll go take a look here, and you'll see that. Okay, so it's blinking very fast. It's actually blinking. Yeah, it's blinking about right. So it's blinking fast, but it's blinking front and back. And if I go put the right turn signal on, you notice there's no blinking. Now, this happens. We'll put the left one on again so you can kind of see what it's supposed to look like here. It doesn't show the turn signal indicator, which is a little annoying. You see there's supposed to be a green light right about here. But what's happening here, and this is true whether I have an LED plugged in the front, like I do here, or in the back. So I've tried LEDs LEDs plugged in the front and regular light bulbs plugged in the back and swapped them, and it exhibits the same behavior. So what's happening here is, I think the LEDs have so much less resistance than the regular bulbs that when you put one in, it suddenly starts flashing a lot quicker because there's less resistance on the circuit. It looks like both lights are on the same circuit. So if you plug two in, there's actually not enough resistance, and the computer freaks out and doesn't turn on the lights. Looks like this light is also somewhat turning on because I think there's not enough resistance to stop it from turning on. So this will be fun and exciting. So we're gonna have to wait for those resistance packs to properly do this thing here. But we did figure out a way to mount these things. That'll work for now. So this is one of our fairings, and on the inside of these fairings, so I drop a bunch of crap, there's this little like plastic piece, and this hole is typically a hole to let you access the screw that mounts the headlight or the turn signal light. But we're actually just using that hole as our mounting hole for these LEDs. So I'm gonna go put the other one on the other side. That other side's still a little bit hung up on a couple things. So I'm gonna go put my other LED on the other side here, now that I'm done showing you guys what's going on with that. And then we'll get to adjusting the suspension on this bike to be a little bit better off-road. Alright, so we've talked about adjusting things on the bike, and really the biggest thing to adjust when you're going off-road, especially with a bike like this, it's really designed not to do that. So you need to make some pretty drastic moves with your suspension. So most sport bikes, because this is like the original 600 class racer bike, come with decently adjustable suspension, whether you have to do it manually like I do with this wrench, or you can go in electronically and adjust all your damping and spring preload and everything else. So we're gonna start at the front forks here because they're the easiest to explain. And so what we've got here is a setup like this. So we have the top part of our an adjustment down at the bottom of the fork as well. So this is on the front fork, right? There's an adjustment down here, but mostly we're gonna be adjusting, no, there. Yeah, that's what we wanna focus on. We're gonna adjust a couple things here. So we're gonna adjust this blue part here. If you see those lines, we can get that. Yeah, if you see these lines, these are essentially measurements of preload. So preload is functionally like adjusting your ride height a little bit. Really, it makes sure that if your fork travels a certain amount of distance, it adjusts where that fork starts in its travel. So if your fork travels this much and your preload's pretty low, your fork will start down here somewhere. But if your fork preload's pretty high, it'll start up here. So it's functionally an adjustment on ride height, but it's anyway. So we're gonna go adjust this. We're gonna adjust the preload all the way up, which essentially means we're adjusting this thing all the way in, so there's nothing showing. And that just requires a single wrench. And then what we're gonna do is, you can see kind of the flat, see this little thing up top? This is your compression adjustment. It adjusts how hard or soft pretty much it adjusts how quickly it lets your compression, the compression stroke. So if you hit a bump and your shocks want to compress like that, it adjusts how quickly it both lets it do that, and it basically adjusts how quickly it'll let the shock compress. So we're gonna want to put that on the softer side. You don't want it too soft, because then you're just gonna like float around a bunch. But in this case, even soft in a sport bike is still pretty firm compared to most regular road bikes. And then at some point later, we'll go down in here. I think my adjustment's covered right now by my stand, but we'll go down here and adjust rebound, and the same thing is basically there for compression as rebound, except it's when your shock is extending. It adjusts how long it takes it to extend, and the harder the rebound, the longer it takes, essentially. And off-road, you want both compression and rebound to be relatively soft, because that lets the tire move with the ground. It gives it a little bit more freedom to move with the ground. But it does make you a little bit squishier, so you'll float a little bit more. Alright, so we're here at the rear, and the rear is a monoshock design. So we've got to use this to adjust our spring preload. And I left my flathead over there, but we use a flathead to adjust the compression, and then we adjust with our hand on the rebound. So let's see if we can get you guys in here to see. So spring preload, if you've seen how you adjust a car for like ride height, that is roughly how you do that here. So you see that collar, right? See if we can do this so y'all can see. See that collar right in here? Our tool goes in there and spins it one way or the other, and that will adjust whether the preload is going up or down, essentially where the shock sits in its travel. And then compression is adjusted up in that screw right up here. And then rebound is adjusted down on the bottom here. There's a little hand crank thing down here. We're gonna go do that here real quick and get this thing set up so that we're at basically the top of our spring preload. And then we're gonna put the compressions at pretty soft, but not the softest setting, because you still want a little bit of damping. Even off-road, like no damping, it's not great either. So you still want some damping when you're going off-road. All right, well, you may be wondering why I'm in my backyard. Well, it's because I gotta clean something real quick to show you. This is my bottom underside of my fairing here, and I don't know, it doesn't come through on the screen very well, but this is just disgusting in here. So all this just caked in dirt and mud and horrificness. So I'm going to wash this off real quick, and then we're gonna go back to the computer and try and CAD up some parts for ourselves here. Okay, we're a couple days later, as evidenced by the new shirt. Parts came in, and we managed to get our lights mounted in the way we like, and I'll show you that right now. So, go around to the other side here. Currently we have our front LED lights mounted like this. So these are a front mount here, and they can rotate a little bit. Let's see if we can focus in. There we go. So these can rotate a little bit to get, and then when we want to, we just pull them out. This is how those things come out. And we're left with that sort of mount. So right now what we have is a 3D printed, essentially, extension arm, and I'll show you why on the other piece here. What we have right now is essentially a 3D printed extension piece that takes what normally would mount what we had originally, was inside here a little bit, and this thing just barely stuck out, which was cool, but I was a little bit worried about some crashing issues with this front suspension and wheels particularly, and I'll show you where that's coming from here. So we've kind of propped this thing up here. We have our other side, the fairing on the other side. This one came off a lot easier. And you can see our mount system here. So we have our light and our mount, and this is a 3D printed like extension bracket here. And then if we go in here on the inside, you can see this is our resistor for an LED conversion, and then right here, let's see, that sort of stuff, it's a backing plate, so the bolts are bolted into this backing plate, and that squishes everything in. What we'd originally mounted to though was this hole right here. So this hole is made so that you can get in there with a screwdriver and unscrew the original the original turn signals. And it actually is just about the right size to mount everything. Unfortunately, what happens with that is the extension, the way the lights mount, is they have a piece that extends in here and then like a clamp piece that mounts on the back side here and clamps in between something. So what happened is this was extending out into here somewhere, which when this is fully installed, like down under here, it extends from this hole right up into here and it is really close to touching these front shock towers, or front forks, which is not great. So what we did is we created this spacer mount assembly to mount them farther out. It also means we don't have to drill another hole in this to mount our wires back to where they run into here and plug into our main light harnesses. So it's good all around, and it was not, I mean, it's not super expensive to go do that sort of thing. So that's what we did here, and we got the mounts built. In case you're curious about what that mount looks like, this is some of my prototypes that I was building. Let's see if we can't. This is one of the prototypes that I made, and it's essentially a hollow shaft or a hollow boss with a couple bolt holes and then something to clamp to for the lights on the other side. It was interesting trying to get the shape right because the shape wasn't like a nice clear rectangle. So this one shows the grind marks. I took the Dremel and had to grind everything to shape here. So this is kind of what it looks like, and there's a backing plate on the other side. Oh, and the wheels are in and they look sick. So the last thing to do before you put everything back together, always check, if possible, make sure everything works. So everything has been connected on the left-hand side here, so I'm going to turn my left turn signals on. And ta-da! Turn signal in the back works. You can see the turn signal in the front is flashing as well. So everything's going to work electrically, which means we can start throwing this thing back together. All right, just got finished cleaning up, and here she is. So, phase one is complete. You can see all of our fenders still seem to fit, although that one is hilarious. There's the little rubber, let me show you. There's the little rubber little hairs. These rub, this thing is so close, such a tight fit, that these rubber hairs actually rub on this fender. But it's not impacting the tire itself, and if it is, they'll just eat it up, and that'll be that. Everything's on, everything's working. So we'll flip this on real quick. Left turn signals work. Right turn signals work. And our license plate light also works and sits there and is out of the way, and so far seems to be secure. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to give it a test drive, but that'll be soon, maybe a little bit this next week before the camping trip. It's so weird. I know it's going to behave really differently on the road because these wheels are not at all like the 2CTs, the Pirellis I pulled off of it, but it looks exactly the same, pretty much. I mean, not a whole lot of difference. You see the tail tidy, so the tail section looks a lot cleaner, but it looks still like a sport bike, and then you look a little bit closer and realize, whoa, those are dirt wheels on it. It's kind of a cool look. Oh, and here is the carnage, the stuff I've taken off. These are the reflectors. They might legally be required, but I don't want them on there. I just hate the look of them there. And then this is the chain guard. So when I was trying to put the wheel on over here, see if we can't get it behind here. Nah, So when I was trying to put the wheel on, look at all that sludge in there. The chain guard kept hitting the wheel or the tire, because these tires are a little bit bigger on the shoulder than my old tires. We might put a side-by-side comparison or something like that here for you. And it was rubbing on it, and I actually couldn't get the wheel on, so I pulled them off just so I could get the wheel on. And then I'm like, well, I can't really put it back on either, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna rub on the tire, and I don't really want any of that. So chain guard is off, front marker lights are off currently. And yeah, the bike does feel a little taller when I was moving it around. I would, when I was riding on this previously, I'm a big dude, but I could easily flat foot with a bunch of space. I can still flat foot it, but it's much less, much less room between my legs where the bike saddle is, so I can't just like toss it side to side. So the bike does feel like it sits maybe a little bit higher. It's not like super high or anything yet at this point, but it is. It does feel different when you're sitting on it. We'll see how it drives. Test drive hopefully soon. So that's the completed phase one. This bike is now theoretically in the same condition that the Terra Corsa, I think it was what it was called. Some guy took a Panigale 1199, put essentially these same dirt tires on it, did much the same stuff that I did to it. I think he already had the tail tidy on, and took it on a 3-day back roads trip with a bunch of ADV guys. So we're gonna go test it out on some sand and some other things and have a good time and hopefully not break it. But that'll be next couple videos. So thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Andrew. This is a Make It Break It YouTube video on Project Hypertenere. There it is. If you like this video, hit like. If you like stuff on this channel, we got our motorcycle projects, Hypertenere. We got our Chrysler 300C Ute project that is still kicking my butt. And then we've got our Doritos Locos RX-8, which is gonna start picking up here soon because I have like a month, less than a month to swap the motor and get it ready for a track day again. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on. So if all that stuff sounds interesting, we also got 3D printing tips and tricks, 3D print parts like I did on this, 3D print parts all the time for our cars. So if that sounds interesting for you, definitely hit subscribe, hit that bell icon thing, and then you can get notified every time we put out a video, which is multiple times a week. So thanks for watching, everyone. It's nice to get something done a little bit. We've been struggling with the Chrysler recently, so it's nice to get a bike or a project in a condition where we can go use it. So yeah, and always keep in mind, guys, there's a lot of questions about projects, especially weirdo projects like taking a sport bike and turning it into a dirt bike. But the only question you really need to answer is, why not do it? So we'll catch you guys later. How's it going, everybody? Today, we're gonna try and finish up our project.